Scrub in and tune off. It's time for Scrub Talk with Clare and Bec. Brought to you by the Murdoch University School of Nursing, Scrub Talk is where nursing knowledge meets curious conversation.
Hello and welcome to our first episode of Scrub Talk, the podcast for the School of Nursing at Murdoch University. So we thought we would start off by just introducing what Scrub Talk is and what it's all about.
So what is Scrub Talk? Scrub Talk is a place for us to break down barriers and create a community between faculty and students, professionals, all around education, nursing practice, research, and really a space for us to just come together as a community to share all things interesting, fun, new, different, things that make us interested in the world of nursing. So Claire, why is it important?
Well, it's another way for us to be able to reach out to our students and to be able to kind of engage with them and say, well, what do you want? What do you want to know about? Do you have any questions that you've always wanted to ask someone, but you've never really had the nerve to do it? Do you have a burning question? So this is another opportunity. It's another level. It's another program that you guys can engage with us as academics.
And as humans, because we are academics, but we are also people and nurses and humans. And so a space for us to be vulnerable as well. And you guys see us in a particular role, which is as academics in a teaching environment, but we're also people. So breaking that down into the vulnerability space as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So how can students engage with us?
We've got lots of different ways that you can engage with us. First of all, we have a website, of which a link to the website will be posted on LMS through the nursing community page. We have an email, which is scrubtalkpodcast, all one word, at murdoch.edu.au. And we also have social media.
We do. So we have an Instagram handle, ScrubTalk_MU, acknowledging that we are from Murdoch University, where we'll also be sharing snippets of behind the scenes, show notes, and anything that's really of interest that we get from our podcast work.
Yeah, I'll make sure I've done my hair and makeup for that.
Yeah, maybe not today. So we thought that we would get started with our first ever episode by getting to know each other a little bit better. So over to you, Claire.
Well, I thought I would put you on the hot seat, and I think you're going to do the same to me, which means there'll be some, I'm not really sure from me. So, Bec, you have come from the University of Canberra, which was a huge move, both professionally and personally. How have you settled into your life at Murdoch University and Western Australia? And what has been some of the something that has stuck out to you that we're doing well over here?
So in terms of moving to WA, it is like living on the surface of the sun. I'm just waiting for when it might get a bit cooler.
It's cold.
I'm so excited. I fly back to Canberra in 2 days. Today it's like 25 or 26
22.
Here.
It's
22
freezing.
degrees in Perth, and people have been wearing like puffer jackets and things. And when I go home to Canberra, it's single digits. So the weather is very different. In terms of settling in here at Murdoch University, something that has stood out that you guys are doing well, a few things come to mind. Immediately, your lab setups are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I've loved teaching into the lab setup, both here at South Street and down at Mandurah as well. The cadaver lab was a really exciting opportunity that I got to experience just thanks to a hallway conversation. Loved that. And I think that that is such a massive learning opportunity that I don't think many other universities actually have for their nursing students. So that is something that stands out. The other thing that I would say is that I am quite a spicy thinker. That sounds dreadful. I am someone who likes to be innovative, and I like to think about different ways of doing things and learning about things and presenting things to students. And I would say one of the things that has been really evident since my arrival here at Murdoch is that that's really appreciated and encouraged by students and by the faculty generally, including leadership. So this semester I've done things like the Airway Olympics and an escape room. And when I've put out a call for students to say, hey, I need some guinea pigs for this, I've had students being like, yes, I want to have a go. Yes, I want to try that out. And equally, I've had wonderful casual teachers who are like, yes, let me try that. So the enthusiasm for learning, I think, is something that has really stood out here.
Oh, that's really lovely. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
We do have a great staff. Our students are awesome. And it's great to have that fresh perspective coming in as well for us, like just new ideas, fresh ideas. I get really excited when you knock on my door and go, excuse me, I've had an idea about something and I'm not sure it's going to work. Can I try it? Yeah, of course. Go for it. Let me know how it goes.
Claire does always say yes to my ideas. I haven't had a no yet.
Ooh,
Challenge.
Okay, so the next question is, your background is as an ED nurse, working in a large tertiary hospital setting. What is one lesson you have learned from the ED that you have carried with you into your teaching?
I would say that triage is happening always, everywhere, in every setting. So in the ED, when I'm sitting at the triage desk, I'm doing my A to E on somebody. When I come into a learning space, I'm also triaging. So I'm making sure I've got a psychologically safe environment. I'm making sure that my students are engaged. I'm making sure that I'm meeting learning outcomes. I'm seeing if that's fitting in with the assessments that they're doing. I'm seeing if that is a positive student experience. So whether I'm triaging or teaching, I'm always kind of working through in my mind a set of questions and principles to make sure that I'm meeting the needs of the person in front of me, whether that be a patient or a student.
So what you're saying is you do your A to E approach as a prioritization at triage. Do you do an A to E approach on your students as well? Like making sure that they have an airway and that they're engaged and...
Sometimes.
I must say, I've walked past your classroom and each time I see the students and they're sat there and they're actually very engaged.
Most of the time. We have our moments.
Everyone has their moments.
True.
It's good to be able to say, you know what, today I'm just not there. I'm here for attendance. So gin and tonic is your go-to drink. But if you had to invent a signature nursing-themed cocktail, what would you call it and what would be in it?
So Claire didn't know this until today, but when she sets me something like this, I go 100% 2 feet. I am so in that I've actually bought a bag into our recording studio with all the ingredients for this cocktail. My cocktail is called the Code Blue Cooler. And if you want to head to our social media or onto our Padlet, you can actually get the recipe card for it. My Code Blue Cooler is a delicious mix of gin, blue cacao, elderflower syrup, and then topped up with some tonic water to give it a bit of spice. And then a wheel of lemon for the decoration with a little twist of the citrus in there, and then a sprig of rosemary.
That sounds amazing.
And we shall be having one when we get back to the office.
Do we have to share with everyone else?
No, we will do it in our little quiet officey space.
All right. I like that. What about can you make it into a mocktail as well? For
Yes.
those that don't like to drink?
Yes. So I have a mocktail version as well, which will also be on our recipe card, which we maybe should have thought about because we are sort of at work today. But I feel like we're celebrating our inaugural episode.
Maybe for the boss, we should just say it's the mocktail.
She'll never know.
Vicky, it's okay. It was a mocktail.
All right, Claire, turning the tables. So now I get to be the interrogator. If you had a nursing alter ego, what would their superhero name be? What would their superpower be? And what would their kryptonite be? It's a 3-parter, this question.
You always ask the hardest questions. And the reason why I love like working with you is how innovative, inventive, and fun you are. I am not quite as innovative as you. So I'm going to need help with the superhero name, and you need to make it really good. It needs to be good. But my superpower would be, I think, so triage was my favorite place to work, but I used to get really frustrated with patients that would come in and tell me one story as to why they were there. And by the time they got into the department and seen multiple other people, and now they were seeing the doctor, they'd have a completely different story. And then people would come down and say, what happened here? Why did you triage them as that? They're here, you triaged them as a broken toe, but they're actually here with chest pain. I asked them all the questions and that's not what they said to me, So my superpower would be to be able to like have telepathy, to look inside their brain and go, what is the actual reason that you are here? And pull that out so that I could be really accurate in my triage.
So your superhero name is Clear It Up, Claire.
Clear it up, Claire.
Oh no, this sounds like we've gone back to sexual health.
Yeah.
No, that's not working. So, scrap that one. Over to the audience. So if you can come up with a good superhero name for Claire, let us know what it is. And we might have a sneaky little prize on offer.
Yeah. Ooh, prizes.
We love prizes.
Vicky, do we have a budget for prizes? No?
We will soon. We will. Second question for you, Claire.
Hang on. I didn't say my kryptonite.
Sorry. Your kryptonite.
So my kryptonite would be, again, always at triage, it would be like 2 a.m., you're already really tired, and now the printer's jammed and you can't get your paper out and everything's just going wrong with the paper and it's stuck and you're pulling at it and it's ripped and yeah.
And it's always when it's like a cat too and it's a chest pain and they need that piece of paper now and you're like,
sorry.
Saying naughty words at the printer.
Find another printer.
All right, question 2, Claire. You are the academic chair here at Murdoch University's School of Nursing. And
people might not actually recognise my voice at the moment because it is very husky because I have had the flu. So
it is definitely Claire.
It's me.
It is academic chair Claire. But as the academic chair, you have a really unique view on the future of nursing education. With that view, what's one change that you think we need to enact to make our graduates better prepared for the workforce?
I think for me, something that I've seen and noticed over the years is that I'm not sure that we really prepare our graduates well for dealing with death and dying. We do deal with palliative care and like the care involved in palliative care. But actually when it comes to death and the dying process, a lot of our case studies, a lot of our scenarios, a lot of our simulations, they revolve around the patient surviving at the end of them because no one wants to end on a sad note. But death and dying doesn't have to be sad, but it's a natural part of life. And I think we are not setting our graduates up well to deal with that because not everyone's going to have a death in placement. And I don't know about you, but I remember my first death as a student nurse. I remember it was on my first ever placement, and our placements were very different back in the UK. We were in university for about 16 weeks, if that, and then you went out on your first placement and it was an 8-week placement and it could have been on any ward. And the ward that I was on was a vascular surgery ward, and we had the old school matron there. That's how old I am. And the matron, I walked on one shift and the matron said, "Oh, great, you're here." I was like, "Oh, I've been noticed. Wonderful." And she said, "Come over with me. We have a patient. He's got a ruptured AAA. We can't get him to surgery. And his family are being escorted to the hospital by police because it's traffic and everything." And so they actually got a police escort to get the family there because they were quite far away. But they're not going to make it, and no one should die alone. And so your job is to now go and sit with this patient and talk him through his death. And I'd never seen anyone die. I was 18 years old, and I sat there and I held this guy's hand whilst he passed away. And it was such a privilege. And I just talked to him and I just said, like, I was just trying to be as calming. I don't even remember what I said to him, but I tried to be really, really calming. And at the end, after he had passed, I remember sitting there going, oh, wow, that's not what I thought it would look like. And then matron said to me, okay, so the family will be here in about 10 minutes. So you and I are going to sit down and we're going to talk about what you've just been through. And I'm going to help you then talk to the family about how he was in his last minutes of life, and everything that you said and did for him. And that was my first experience. And it was not like obviously a pleasant experience, but it set me up for the future. And I think that's something that we really need to do.
What a powerful story, a powerful memory. I think we all remember our first death. I think it's always one of those things that kind of just cements in your brain. So still on a kind of heavier note, on those days, you know the days, you are the academic chair that carries a weight. You are a mum of beautiful girls, wife to a wonderful husband. You are a PhD candidate. You are a dog mama as well. You're a taxi to your family. You're a nurse, and you are just a human being. What are some of the strategies that you use to ensure that you don't get lost in the chaos on those days when there are just people pulling you every which way direction and you just feel like your mind's about to explode? What's your go-to?
I have two answers for you. There's an appropriate answer and probably an inappropriate answer. So I'll start with the inappropriate answer. I'll have a glass of wine if I'm really honest. So yes, nice big glass of wine. But other than alcohol, because alcohol does not solve everything, so I am told. I'm also English, so tea should solve everything for me, but it doesn't. I'm really lucky. I have really great friends. I have the faculty here, and my friends on the faculty are amazing. I'm obviously very far away from my family, as you are as well, but I can still call my parents, and I'm very lucky that my parents are in good health and I can chat with them. I like a big cry helps sometimes if you're really overwhelmed.
And we're not talking we're not talking the movie like one little tear rolling out of
ugly
the corner.
crying.
We're talking the red eyes, the moment, the just release it all.
Snot bubbles and everything. Yeah, just get it all out. Because actually, like, crying is really cathartic and it really does help, especially if you are really overwhelmed. And I'm all for crying. I'm also for talking as well. And, you know, my husband is in healthcare, so he understands. He's been with me throughout all of my academic career. So that's also great. And then I've got my dogs. My dogs always give me the best responses because their responses are to cuddle me. When I don't want human touch, I just want dog cuddles. Also, they don't answer me back like husband and children do. So, yeah, that would be me.
Dogs are the best.
Therapy dog.
Absolutely the best. I love it. I love my dog too. She's just the best. So that's a little bit about Claire and I, about who we are, some lighthearted stuff, some deeper stuff. So over to student questions, and we got this one off our Padlet. Has there ever been a moment where you've seriously questioned going into nursing? And as a little side add-on, have you ever, or at what points, suggesting there have been multiple, have you considered leaving nursing? Why and what made you stay? So over to you, Claire, first.
So much here for me. I could talk on this one. First, I was never going to be a nurse. I was going to be a lawyer, except I didn't study at school very well. And I was always, whenever someone hurt themselves, I was always in there going, oh, what's going on? Oh, can I help? Oh, I'll take you to ED. So at that point, the teachers suggested that had I ever considered nursing? And I could, you know, on the grades that I did have, I could go into nursing and get in and go to university. And it was unlikely I would get into law school without actually pulling my socks up. Okay, fine. And then when I got into nursing school, I just found that I loved it. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. But when I became a nurse, I actually did leave nursing for a time, about 6 months. A lot had happened where I'd been working. I was burnt out. It was just, everything was just, it was an awful, awful time for me. And I thought, no, I'm not, this is not for me. And so the July the 7th bombings had just happened in London, and that's where I was living and working, and I'd been involved in all of that. And I went, I need to get out. And so I left, and I moved to New Zealand to go traveling. And whilst I was traveling, it turns out that if you don't have a job, money doesn't just turn up in your bank account.
Wild.
I know.
Wild.
Who knew? And so I thought, oh gosh, I need to get a job now. So I did some bar shifts, and I cleaned, what are they called? Like backpackers. I worked and lived in a backpackers and cleaned the backpackers. And that gave me like free accommodation and a little bit of extra cash. And at that point, I realized that life is not for me. And then I was really, really lucky because I applied for and landed the job of my dreams. Not that this is not the job of my dreams, but skiing's always been my life. I love skiing. I love snowboarding. I love like winter sports in general. And I landed a position as a ski field nurse and ski patroller. And that was just, that season made me go, this is why I'm a nurse. This is it. This is why I want to do this. And I refound like that passion. And then from then on, it's just always been ED for me. And I've, traveled around the world with my ED nursing skills. So that's also helped. What about you?
Yes, I've questioned my decision to go into nursing many times at 3:00 in the morning. I've been on nights and I'm like, why? But I have loved my nursing journey. I am a 4th generation nurse, so it's meant to be for me. It's just part of my DNA. Unfortunately, it didn't flow on to my daughter, but the line stops with me. Something that Claire doesn't know about me until this exact moment is that I have 3 years of a 4-year teaching degree in high school education, secondary education.
It makes sense.
So many things make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in Queensland and I had my son, and then I went to university and I had 3 years of my degree done, and then I moved down to Canberra. And when I came down to Canberra, I couldn't get sufficient credit because of the way the education systems in Australia are very state-based. So I decided, well, if I have to start over, I'm going to go to nursing. And I went on my first placement and I was like, yeah, this is it. I've done my thing and I'm here to stay. Have I ever considered leaving nursing? I have considered leaving. So COVID-19 was a tricky time for me as someone who deals with chronic illness and autoimmune disease. Not because I was over nursing or not because I didn't love my job, but just in terms of my own health and safety, that was a bit of an issue. And not that I considered leaving nursing, but I went for a job that I really, really wanted and I didn't get it.
What was the job?
It was as the educator, education-based, in the ED. And one of the things that I didn't do well on was having difficult conversations.
Oh.
Yeah. So I thought, well, where can I go to learn to have difficult conversations? And that's how I ended up working in organ donation.
Oh,
for
wow.
a period of time. Yeah. Because I thought, where can you go to learn to have difficult conversations? Well, they're some of the most difficult you're ever going to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've sort of jumped around in nursing. So I've, dug my toe into a few different pots, but I've never really considered leaving. And in terms of like leaving nursing, even now I have not laid physical hand on a patient in about 5 months. And I can tell you I have itchy feet to get back into clinical practice.
Yeah, that's still called athlete's foot. There's a fungal cream for that.
So once I treat my fungal foot infection, I think my feet will still be itchy to get into clinical practice. But as my husband very kindly and gently reminds me, as a PhD candidate working full-time, 3,000 kilometres away from my adult children and with my 3 bonus babies here in WA, our life is quite full right now, and I just can only do so many things with 24 hours in a day. But I'm desperate to get back to clinical work. We would make the ultimate pair because he is a pilot. So I'm like,
RFDS.
he flies, I treat. Like we could be like such a good team.
Yeah. Could I just come on the jaunt for the flying?
Totally.
I don't really want to go back to being clinical now. I'm very comfortable in my position here.
See, I haven't found my sweet spot yet. I feel like my sweet spot would be 33% education, 33% research, 33% clinical.
Okay. I can see that.
I want everything.
Yeah.
That's my problem is I just want to do everything, and I'm not very good at being able to say no to things.
Oh, yeah. I have that problem too. Saying no. It's what lands me in hot water quite often. And late nights.
That's why I go to Claire with my crazy ideas.
I love your crazy ideas. They're never that crazy. Well, some of them maybe.
Some of them.
So,
moving on to the future, guys. We want to put the future of Scrub Talk in your hands. We asked you what you want to hear from Claire and I, and we chose 3 and popped them up on a poll, which you can access via our Padlet, and you can find the links for that. Option number 1, the joy, all the warm and fuzzy stories, all the moments and anecdotes from our combined 30 plus years of nursing.
we're so old.
We are really old. So in terms of clinical experiences, I've worked in gastrosurge, pediatrics, a little bit of stroke and ID, pain and analgesia mechanisms, ED, and organ donation. That's kind of my clinical experiences. And yourself?
Me, I've worked in a central London sexual health clinic, which was eye-opening for a 21-year-old from the country.
I can only imagine the things that you have seen.
It was amazing, though. Like, I loved working there. It was a great team as well. I learned so much because we had to do our own microscopy as well. So I learned a huge amount, but I heard stories, some funny, some not so funny, and some really just heartbreaking stories. But then from there, I moved on to vascular surgery, high dependency, and urology. And then I took my little break before heading off to the ski fields. And then ED, and it's been ED since then.
We brought you over to the dark side.
I love ED.
So good.
Love
So
ED.
good. So your second option, guys, is ethical dilemmas. So we tend to think about this as kind of the big nursing ethical dilemmas, but what about the everyday kind of things that you encounter within your life? So when you're at Woolies and the 12-year-old behind the counter doesn't actually scan your Milky Bar, do you actually say anything?
I do. I am that person. A little while ago, I was at the self-checkout and I was just overloaded, and I had one of those big packets of like 32 toilet rolls because I've got 2 small children that they seem to eat toilet rolls. And I walked out without having paid for it. And I got to my car and I put it in the boot and I went, I remember scanning this. And I looked at my receipt. Nope, hadn't scanned it. So I went back in and I said, I'm really sorry, I've just stolen these. Can I please pay for them? And the woman at the counter looked at me and she went, no one does that.
That's so funny.
Yep. So I am that person.
Claire is the ethical one in the duo here. I wouldn't have bothered, I don't think. Option 3, self-care. So you've got your assignments piling up, you have got exams coming up, or you're on your placement and you've got that dreaded evening morning. What are some of the ways that you provide your self-care? What's your go-tos?
What's your go-to?
Oh, I'm a meditator.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never got the hang of meditation.
Oh, once you get the hang of it, it is like bliss. I also own a Pilates reformer. Lives in the dining room of my house. And so for me, I need movement and I need to move my body but calm my brain. So self-care for me is about those two things.
Yeah.
Moving my body, calming my brain. So moving my body for me is Pilates. It is walking on the beach with my dog because my dog is my life. And calming my brain is often reading or meditation.
Oh. Yeah. I never had you down as a meditator somehow.
Because I've got a very busy brain.
Yeah. I think that's why I struggle with the meditation. Too many other things to think about.
But what's self-care for you?
Talking is a good one for me. Walking the dog. I won't go down the alcohol route as well because I sound like an alcoholic and that is not true.
Our students are going to be getting out the AWS chart now.
I know. Ooh, has she got a shake going on? And yeah, walking the dog, having a good, like I said earlier, having that really good ugly cry. Like I've always found crying really works for me because it clears my brain and it's, it's quite heavy work having a big like heaving, sobbing cry. It doesn't happen very often, but if I need to, it works.
Nice. I don't tend to use it from my academic days, but certainly from clinical days. I would drive home from like a full-on shift with no music, like nothing, like dead quiet in the car because I've just spent 8 hours with machines buzzing, people talking, babies crying, like people at me. Like the sensory input has been so much that part of self-care for me is to drive home with nothing on and it's just a bit of decompression.
Yeah, that's me. I never have it unless I've got my kids in the car because then I've got a talking 10-year-old who does not stop talking and music and there's just lots going on. And so if I'm on my own in the car, no music.
Quiet time.
Silence.
So it is over to you guys. The power of our next episode is in your hands. Get your votes in. We are so keen for feedback. This is our very first episode. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear. And until next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Scrub Talk with Clare and Bec, where nursing meets curiosity. See you in the next episode.